from the WHL, Ron Robison or Richard Dirksen, to come on. They were not available. We've been asking for literally 2 or 3 weeks, and we're told the WHL would not be talking about this subject. And then yesterday they did a ton of media, basically because Portland forced them to. Portland, they've kind of had dueling press releases in the last few days, and full credit to the WHL for addressing, basically being called out by Portland for more transparency in the process. So I give the WHL a ton of credit for speaking to tons of media yesterday. Unfortunately, they won't be joining us today or on Tuesday's show, although our offer is still open for them to do so on Tuesday. They wanted just to handle it all on Friday and then put it behind them, basically, which I understand. It's just unfortunate. Dean was at Global. I wasn't even in the city yesterday, so we couldn't pre-tape anything with Ron Robison yesterday. It didn't work out. Fortunately, Ron Robison did appear on Hockey Central on Sportsnet. We do have a short clip from that we'll play you, and he was also a guest on the Jason Gregor Show, which I was able to take some snippets out of. We don't have time to play the entire interview. We got about 4 or 5 minutes of it, which we will play in a second. Let's start with the Hockey Central interview. And again, this is basically just one question. Darren Millard from Hockey Central on Sportsnet set it up. This is Ron Robison from the WHL, and Darren Millard starts the questioning.
There's always rumors. There always has been rumors. How did you learn about these violations?
We were made aware of an agreement that Portland had entered into with a player that was disclosed to us by another club when that player was traded to that particular club. So up until that time, we were not aware of it, and at that point, that under our regulations and our Constitution required us to conduct an investigation to determine whether there was any other violations.
So another club complained against Portland?
Another club provided us with the documentation that we then acted on.
So that was Ron Robison on Hockey Central yesterday with Darren Millard, and I believe Doug McLean was also involved in that conversation. You can find that entire interview at sportsnet.ca/590 to find the Hockey Central link to that. You can listen to it. Yesterday, Elliot Friedman I guess this is coming out this morning, or yesterday, late last night. Elliot Friedman from CBC, Hockey Night in Canada, wrote a very nice article entitled "What's Behind Portland's Punishment." In that, he confirms exactly what you just heard Mr. Robinson say, that it all started basically with after a player was traded from Portland to another team, and as Elliot points out in his story, the parents called the new club. This is a quote from the story. The parents called the new club and asked how to charge their flights to the organization. The team was surprised and said it couldn't do that. The parents said they had a side letter saying this was permitted. The team asked to see it, and according to one source of Elliot Friedman's, among the items listed were one additional trip per parent per season and assistance with summer training expenses for up to $2,100 and up to $2,700 in future years. It seems to me that the issue here is not necessarily what the infraction was, what rule was broken, but that it happened several times. And it's almost like you get dinged for drunk driving, and it's not a slap on the wrist, but it is a pretty stern first penalty. But the second time, it's a lot worse. The third time, even more bad, more severe. So if Portland broke the rule once, they would have got a big penalty. But they broke it 14 or 15 times, and in total 54 violations. That's why this massive penalty, which I think everybody is looking at and saying, holy cow, for flights and cell phones, that's huge. But it's not. It's more the sense that they kept doing it. They've done it so many times, more than exactly just what the penalty was. All right, we'll go again to the Jason Gregor Show. This is Ron Robison on with Jason Gregor, and I had to cut it down basically and took pertinent parts of the interview from it. But Jason asked Ron Robison basically how this kind of all unfolded here this week as well.
Well, I think, first of all, we were somewhat surprised by, I guess, the release from the Winterhawks organization. We weren't going to release the details that were contained in the report that was prepared as part of an independent investigation of these matters. And what it really came down to is that there was multiple violations over an extended period of time, and combined with a lack of disclosure of these benefits offered to players, and consequently we found ourselves in a very difficult position and had to deal with it very significantly from the standpoint of sanctions. Anytime you're in a league whereby you're dealing with small centers like Swift Current and Prince Albert competing with centers like Edmonton and Calgary, you're very conscious of making sure you have a level playing field at all times, in fairness to the players themselves. And in that respect, we look at our regulations on a regular basis with our general managers and challenge ourselves up against them. But these particular areas within the regulations have been in place for many, many years.
Does it concern you that there's potentially, a lot of things going on behind the scenes that you haven't been able to discover at this point?
In the course of a season, we don't receive a lot, but there's certain accusations that are made on other franchises, and we look into those matters on a regular basis. But really the important thing here is that we didn't conduct a formal investigation until such time that we'd received documentation indicating there was a violation, and consequently that led to discovery of additional violations and the sanctions involved.
Right, there are a lot of doubters who don't believe that. What do you say to them?
Well, I think that in any league you're always going to have rumors, innuendos, but I know in speaking to our ownership, and this has been a central part of our discussions strategically with the league, that we must preserve our business model. We must be maintaining a level playing field, and at every level of our organization, especially within the general managers, there's a real accountability factor that exists there, and they keep a watchful eye on things, and they keep each other accountable, as well as the league. The league does its best to do so as well.
You definitely have bigger market teams, and then of course a lot of the smaller market ones come in Saskatchewan, where there's just not the population base. Has it ever been discussed any sort of revenue sharing in the Western Hockey League?
We do have several forms of revenue sharing currently, certainly in special events. Funds such as are generated from Memorial Cups or World Juniors, NHL agreements, etc., are shared equally with our clubs. But really there's a great respect factor between our leagues, within our league, with the markets that are operating and have additional resources. And this is why these regulations are very important, to make sure that we can allow smaller market teams to coexist with our larger market teams, to make sure that there's no competitive advantage.
And I don't know if it's even possible to do that, Ron, because, you just look at the amount of extra money that those big market teams can bring in just because of, their arenas will, in Calgary, Vancouver, Edmonton, Portland, Prince Albert, even if they sold out every night, is never going to be able to generate the same amount of revenue. And that's where a lot of people wonder about, the extra incentives. Is there a way to, did you get to look at the books every year of every team to ensure that this isn't happening, or is it virtually impossible to stop it?
Well, obviously, it's very difficult to detect in any league at any time, but we have to rely on the integrity of the individuals that we have as partners in this league. We believe we have a very good group of ownership that understand the importance of preserving that. And, we've always taken the position that it's incumbent on the club, it's incumbent on the general manager specifically to be aware of the regulations and to ensure that they do comply. Otherwise, we put our entire system at risk.
Ron, I appreciate your time. One final one for you. Do you expect an appeal from the Portland Winterhawks? Have they already appealed?
Well, we don't have a formal appeal process within our league. It's the commissioner's responsibility to rule on these matters, but we understand that they will be asking for an ability to present their position to the Board of Governors, and we'll be once that request is received, then we'll be considering that, and the governors will, for that matter, and we expect that the governors will fully cooperate and listen to their position.
Now, again, that was Ron Robison on with Jason Gregor yesterday on the Jason Gregor Show here on the Team 1260. And again, that was not the entire interview. If you want to go and hear the entire thing, and it's from start to finish, hit up Jason's podcast at the Team 1260 and you can find that. I think it was about 3 o'clock, so you can track it down that way.